creative school, the I suppose intention of this session is to help you understand more about creative schools, give you more information about it, and then help a little bit with the application process because the application has to come through the Arts Council's online system, and that can just be a little bit tricky for people. So we'll kind of walk you through that as well. And there's the opportunity then at the end for you to ask questions. So you to start off, I'm going to share, we're going to kind of break, that's the way we'll kind of break it up. So we'll kind of overview the program, overview the application process, what happens after the application process, when you can expect to hear from us, etc. And then kind of time for questions at the end and kind of the common challenges and the kind of common questions that come up. So to start with, Rebecca is going to show a video that just explains the Creative Schools program in about two minutes, just in a slightly more dynamic way than I might be able to just kind of talk you through it. And I'll see you again after that video.
Creative Schools is a 2-year programme open to all primary and post-primary schools and Youthreach settings in Ireland. Each participating school or setting is matched with a trained creative associate who guides and supports staff, students, learners and parents and helps find ways for children and young people to be at the very centre of creative schools. There are 3 main phases in the journey of a creative school. Understand and explore creativity, develop your creative schools plan, and implement your creative schools plan. In Phase 1, each school community explores what arts and creativity means to them. Schools and settings choose to do this in many different ways. They might explore what students understand about creativity in workshops and events. They could uncover the creative interests of their school or setting through surveys or ballots. Maybe they will discuss how to enhance creativity in learning and teaching, or they might establish a creative committee to lead their journey. In Phase 2, schools or settings develop their own unique creative schools plan which sets out their vision for creativity. It outlines the activities that will take place. The plan includes links and connections to creative people and outside organisations who can help. The final phase is when all those creative ideas, opportunities and connections are up and running. Each Creative Schools plan is a living document unique to each school. It can go on to be a guide long after participation in Creative Schools has finished. The 2-year Creative Schools journey is a way to put arts and creativity at the heart of young people's lives. Why not join the journey?
Thank you, Rebecca. So, as the video told you, Creative Schools is a 2-year journey. So, it isn't a project, it isn't a kind of a grant or a scheme for a particular project. I suppose a more accurate way of describing it is that it is a process that gives you the time, space, money, and support to think about what you might like creativity to look like in your school and the potential that there might be in your school. And the main way that we kind of support that those supports work is through a €4,000 grant for you to spend over the 2 years, the services and support of a creative associate who's attached to your school for 18 days over the 2 years. So 9 school days per school year. That doesn't come out of your grant. Creative Schools pays for that separately. And also a day's training for, it might be you who wants to nominate yourself as as the school coordinator for Creative Schools. So a day's training with us, and there's substitution cover available for that. So ahead of making your application, as I said, it's a 2-year process. And so it's really okay if you don't know what it is you want to do right now. You're only at the beginning of that journey. And because it's a creative way of working, you want to allow plenty of time and space in that Phase 1 that was referenced in the video to kind of consult with the school community, with your colleagues, maybe with parents, with children and young people, and everybody who's part of the school community to think about what might be possible, and then start looking at how you might focus on that, I suppose identifying what it is you want to do and start enacting that. And the program is very much I suppose, centered around providing you with the support and expertise to do that. So if you're worried that you don't have a clear idea what you want to do or what it's going to look like, don't worry. You're exactly where you're supposed to be at this point in the process. There's been 1,300 schools through the program already, and no two journeys looked the same. No program looked the same at all, because they're all different, because all schools are different. So you might decide that you want to, at the end of your 2 years, have a festival, or you might want to work on a concert, or you might decide you're going to make circus the focus of PE, or you might decide you want to install a sensory garden, or you might decide you want to do none of those things. And that's really okay. And it's going to look different in every school. There are plenty of case studies that you can look at on our website as well, if you want some ideas of what it's looked like in other schools. But just to say to you as well, case studies are much easier to describe after the fact, and we're at the beginning of our journey here. So don't let a case study, daunt you, or, kind of don't worry that you're comparing what it might be for you at the very beginning with a school that's already been through their journey. We're at the start of our process here. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the three main sections of the application. Creative Schools is an open application kind of process. So all eligible schools are open to apply, and then we assess all of the applications that come in. So you are assessed on the basis of these three questions in the application form, and I'm going to show them to you now. Um, these grey boxes, they're part of the formatting in the application form. That is part of how the system pulls information from your application form and puts it together to figure out, kind of the is the application complete, so that we can then get on with assessing it. I am absolutely in agreement that it's a temperamental system, but it is what we're working with. So part of these sessions is to help it be as straightforward for you and to provide as much advice as possible. So when you're filling it in, right into these grey boxes, don't delete them. And then you're just going to fill in all your contact information here, privacy notices, and you've confirmed you've read the guidelines. Please do be really accurate with these boxes here about whether you're a primary school, you're post-primary, you're DESH, you're a special school, etc., because that information helps us in the stage where we're assessing schools, and I'll come back to that, but it helps us figure out that we're getting an even mix, a fair mix of all types of setting in all parts of the country. So please do fill in that extra information, because it really helps us. Okay. So this first question, this is a kind of a warm-up question. Tell us about your school or centre. This gives us a sense of what your school is like. This is my favorite section of the application to read when they come in, because it's where the school's kind of sense of what they're describing comes alive. So this is the part where it's really clear that whoever is filling in the application form is the expert on that school, on that setting, on the children that they work with every day, whether or not arts and creativity are newer to them, whether or not filling in kind of application forms for schemes like this is newer to them. The piece that they're really expert on and they know what they're talking about is the setting that they work in, and it really comes alive. It's up to you what you write in that section. People often describe what they can see out the window, where their school is situated, the community that they are based in. They talk about the dedication of their teacher colleagues. They talk about the children that they work with and what they enjoy and what they're good at. And that kind of care and consideration and concern really comes through in this section. And it does say in the guidelines that we might share that section as part of a list of successful schools. So just when you're filling it in, do be aware of that wider audience. And now we have our three main questions. So the first is the rationale for your application. So why would you like to participate in schools? And again, we're not looking for anybody to try and predict what their 2 year journey will look like. We're not kind of basing it on things that you've done in the past. We're just looking at, I suppose, the kind of rationale and the openness and readiness to participate in the programme. So this is the section where you can provide some information development that this might or a learning outcome. there might be some background on your decision to apply or challenges or opportunities that the school would like to embrace. So you might want to describe something you think the program could support or address. So in the past, people have written about move-in building or amalgamating with another school or identifying creativity as an area they wanted to develop after a whole school evaluation. You might want to interweave it with current activities. It's really up to you. It's to help us understand why it is you're interested in participating. The second question is about your capacity for participation. So, as it says in the like all of the things we've been talking about, this is a 2 year program, and it's a partnership between the school, the creative associate, and the children and young people who are participating. So the school's kind of I suppose active participation in that is really important, and their expertise working with the creative associate, and I suppose what happens when those I suppose complementary skill sets and expertises come together. So someone needs to be identified as, I suppose, the liaison person for the school who's going to kind of head up that kind of contact and head up that relationship. It's probably you if you're on the if you've kind of come to the webinar today, you're maybe the person who's very interested in doing that. So it's important the school identifies a school coordinator, and it's important that that school coordinator has support to develop and implement the plan. So you might want to think about where that space to meet the creative associates is going to come from, or where you're going to get the support to do that, or where the support to, I suppose, start planning consultations with children and young people is going to come from, or even, that day's training, even though substitution cover is available, just figuring out what that is going to look like and are you going to be supported to participate. So you might need to talk to school management about that, but it's really about thinking at this point, kind of not finding that you're on your own, kind of come September or October, and thinking about how that support is going to that support is going to be kind of considered. And then the third question is about the voice of children and young people. So in creative schools, we work through the Lundy model, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And the Lundy model is the more informal name for Ireland's participation, children's participation in decision-making framework. So we work through that model as all government departments and all state agencies do, and you probably do yourself. And again, we're not looking for you to know in advance what this is going to look like, but to kind of describe your openness to that way of working. So thinking about how you'll make the space for that to happen. And again, that might be things like, well, we don't know particularly what it's going to look like, but we're going to make maybe some space available once a week at assembly to kind of check in with children and young people about this. Or, we're going to link the consultations to Wellbeing Week, or just thinking about how to make kind of some space and time for it, but not asking you to think about very definite plans at this stage or anything like that. And we know that this might be a new way of working for some people, but it helps us understand where you are in your kind of in your, I suppose, process with involving children and young people in decision making, and kind of where you foresee, I suppose, the potential and maybe some of the challenges. We also know as well that, kind of you involve children and young people in decision making every day in kind of formal ways and informal ways, and, through very close observation and thinking about their needs. So we know that the program is starting from a very rich place in schools. It's just to give us a sense of what your thinking is, and the openness to it. Okay, those are the main parts of the application form. There's a short section then on filling it. It's pre-populated in terms of the grant, and then confirming all of these little parts of the application form, and you understand about participating and nominating a teacher, that you've read the guidelines, etc., etc. But those are the three main parts of the assessment. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Um, Okay. Just to say to you as well, kind of just to reiterate that support about the grey boxes. So kind of don't delete those, don't change the formatting on the application form. I'm going to share my screen one more time to try and just show you one other thing actually about that application form. Rebecca, can you guys see my application form now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Okay. this is, and kind of we can only, I suppose, we are where we are with this online system. It's temperamental. We're not, kind of we can that we are where we are with that. But it's not that we're under any illusion that it's a simpler system, or it is simple enough. It's just a little kind of it can be a little temperamental. So I want to show you here. When you go to save this application form, it says to you it wants to save it in Word 1997 to 2003. Let it. Don't change that. Don't change that. Just press save. So don't change the formatting that it wants to save in. And I know these sound like these probably sound like strange pieces of advice, but these are the things we get a lot of phone calls from about in the run up to the deadline. So, those are the sections you'll be developing over the coming weeks. And I just want to flag one more thing, that if you need any additional support with the application because of any additional needs that you might have, there's contacts listed in the guidelines that for people in the Arts Council are very happy to provide that additional support to you if you need it. Now, I'm going to share my screen again and talk you through how our online system works. Okay, can you guys see Rebecca?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so this is our online system. All applications come through this system, whether you're the Abbey Theatre or you're a school, across the road from me here. Anybody applying to the Arts Council or getting funding from the Arts Council comes through this system. And again, we're aware that this, kind of is slightly less familiar maybe to schools than it is to arts organisations who are more used to it. But we are very, very happy to help you in the Creative Schools team and kind of take calls and emails and help with it. And we hope that we're going to make it as straightforward as possible today. So it will ask you for an ARN. That's your just artist registration number. If you don't have, if you've applied to us before and you weren't successful, you already have one. If you haven't, this is all you do. You press sign up, you register as an organisation because the school, you're applying on behalf of the school's an organisation, and it'll ask you for these contact details. Don't worry about this piece about a tax number or a charity number if you don't have it to hand. It's these with the asterisks that are compulsory, and you fill in the spam thing and you press register. And then we will get back to you within 5 days. So it says within 5 days, but actually our colleague who oversees those is usually very, very fast indeed at doing that. If you already have an ARN, we're going to log in now and look at the application form. So I'm going to put in we have an ARN just for doing these. And you put in a password. So the kind of when you get your ARN, it'll ask you to create a password. And then you come in. This is your online account with us. So this is your account for making your application, but also if you're successful, this will be your account for drawing down your funding and uploading different pieces of information to us. So kind of this is you'll be much more familiar with it when we've all worked together a while. So we have a load of applications in here from doing dummy applications for clinics last year and for starting to do them again this year and for testing the application form. But yours will probably be clear. So you are going to press make an application. And then the applicant will be the name of the school that you're registered as an ARN for, and there'll be your address, and you confirm that those details are correct. And then it asks you to select a primary contact. I'm selecting my colleague. Well, I'm going to try because it's behind the screen share. I just need to move this out of the way. It's what my colleague Natalie is our primary contact. If someone else has set this up and then you need access to it because they've moved or they've taken a leave of absence or they're handing it over to you, you'll press this piece about create a new contact and that'll get it rediverted to a new email address. Do please set up the email address for the person who's waiting to hear about the success of the application or waiting to hear updates because they will need access for it, and our contact will go through that email address now, and it'll say making an application. So when you're going to choose your funding program, when you go in here, it has all of the schemes that are open for the Arts Council at the moment, and we're going to pick Creative Schools 2026. And then it's divided into primary and post-primary. We're going to choose primary for the purposes of this session. And then your reference will be, whatever you want to call your application. So we're calling ours Info Clinic app. And then it helpfully tells you how much time you have left, that you've 43 days left to make your application. And then the next thing you do is download the guidelines and download the application form. And then you work on the application form offline. That's the piece we just looked at with the three main questions and the contact information and the check boxes to confirm that you understand what it is you're applying for. You can save this at any time and then log out of it and come back in another day. And we're not making a multi-annual application. This is an award for this year. We're applying for €4,000 because that's the grant. And then it'll automatically kind of add in that your total income is going to be 4,000 and your total expenditure is going to be 4,000. And again, you can save at any point. And now we're going to pull our application. You've probably done this on other things. I just wanted to show you in case sometimes it can be a little bit temperamental. So I'm pulling from here our dummy application form. And then this is the bit I sometimes forget. Even though I can see it here and I've chosen choose file, I still need to press the upload button. If anything goes wrong here, a pink box will show up and it'll usually tell you what's gone wrong. So it'll tell you it doesn't like the format the file is saved in, so it's been saved as PDF or something like that, or that sections were left blank, or kind of there was dashes or asterisks in the name of the file. So a little pink box comes up if it won't let you proceed but it does give you guidance on what's gone wrong so that you can go back and fix it. This is working fine. You can also delete it if you change your mind or you discover it was the wrong draft or you've kind of thought of new things you want to say. So I'm just going to pull it in again. So it's not, you can, up until you press submit, you can change your application. This bit is for those kind of applications that are part of the broader Arts Council scheme that might need to put a strategic plan or a budget or promotional material with their application. All we want from Creative Schools is the application. You can ignore this section that says upload supporting material. You don't need to upload anything at all. And if you're in any doubt, go back to the guidelines and it tells you that, because sometimes it can feel really strange to be doubting or going against what the application system is telling you. That's the bulk of our application done. So it's telling us our application number, what we've called it, what we've applied for, the amount we've requested. This is the piece we've uploaded, our application form. This is the scary bit, but it's because this is a standardized system with all applications, all different types of applications on it. You have not uploaded any supporting documents. This may result in your application being rejected. That is a general message for other schemes. It does not apply to Creative Schools. You do not need to upload supporting documents. And then you click, I've read the guidance notes, I certify the information is correct to the best of my knowledge and my profile details are up to date. And you click that. And then if you're happy the application is ready and, kind of that there's no more you want to say and that it's all good, we press submit. And then you get this little message to say your application has been successfully submitted. You'll also get an email that will say the same, and you'll get another little email that just acknowledges receipt of it. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing again. That is that is kind of the bulk of that process in terms of what needs to be done around it. I'm just going to kind of get the rest of my notes now. Also, just if you're ARN, check your spam filter if you've applied for it and it doesn't come through, if you're worried at all, or get in touch with us. Now, so that's kind of that is you've made your application and you're happy with it, and the 30th of April, you've made it in by the 30th of April deadline. I'll talk to you a little bit about what happens after that on our side. So we would hope we're going to notify people by the end of May. That will depend on how many applications we get, but we hope one way or another we'll let everybody know by the end of May. So the 30th of April is, as the system helpfully told us, is 43 days away. But because it's 43 days away, it allows loads of time for you to work on your application and get in contact with us if anything is not working out for you or you have any questions, and to go back in and out of your application. The volume, we also, because it's early on in the time, we can see applications on the system, and sometimes we can see where they've gotten stuck and we can get in contact to ask if you need any help around that. Because the volume of applications goes up kind of the closer we get to the deadline, it's harder for us to go through all of those applications, or to kind of to guarantee that we can get back in touch with people if we see them stuck anywhere, or if last minute queries come in. So our recommendation to you would be get it in advance of the deadline if you can, because then if you need any help, we're more likely to be able to kind of get back to you quicker with that help. But hopefully everybody's application is going to be very straightforward. So we hope we're going to let everybody know in May, and then it's Creative Schools matches the school with a creative associate. You don't need to do that yourself or find a creative associate. We have a panel of about 120 wonderful artist practitioners and teacher creative associates based all over the country, with a range of they're like schools. All of their skill sets and their expertise is very different. There's no two of them alike, but what they have in common is that they're all excellent. So we'll match you with a creative associate. Sometimes people get a little worried because a creative associate will have, I suppose, a primary artistic practice that they entered the arts with. So they might be a musician, or they might be a visual artist, or they might be a circus practitioner. But their particular skill is in, for creative schools, is activating kind of creative activity in the school, working with you and your colleagues, working with the children, figuring out what it is that you'd all like to do together, making connections in your community, making connections with other artists you might like to work with. So if you maybe are matched with a musician, but you want to work in something else, don't get worried. It's not that they can only work through their art form. Their skill set is that kind of creative activation piece and building relationships with you and with the wider community. So that's just kind of important to say as well. And again, we mentioned earlier, Creative Schools covers their time, and we manage that piece around matching them. So the assessment process, as we said, will focus on why you want to take part, what you think you'll get out of it, and how open you are to supporting children and young people's voices in the process. We're not looking for a developed plan or a developed set of activities at all. The way that we assess applications is if the application is eligible because you're in the kind of free education scheme, you haven't been successful and participated before, then your application is properly completed with all the sections filled in, we consider you eligible. So what we do then, the first step is we try to make sure that there is an even kind of spread of all types of setting: primary, post-primary, special school, Youthreach, Irish language medium schools, small schools, rural schools. We try and make sure all types of setting are represented in all parts of the country. If we still have more places available, we will go to we will go back and see, are there any more of those kind of other types of setting that tend to be underrepresented sometimes because there's less of them. So the kind of, again, the small school, special school, Irish language medium schools, we will go back and see, are there any more of those that, kind of we can prioritize. If there are still spaces, we will look at schools that were previously unsuccessful and have applied again. And if we still have places left over, we will look at the 9 counties where that have tended to have lower levels of applications, and that we're trying to kind of raise levels of participation there. So we can't tell from, I'll tell you those I'll come back to those in a minute. We can't tell from year to year how many applications that there are going to be. But to give you an indication, last year we were able to take all schools that applied, which was brilliant. The year before, we weren't able to take all schools. There were about 60 schools we were about 60 schools over. But what we were able to do was hold those and kind of prioritize them this year. So they're all in the system, in the participating in creative schools this year. So we do our absolute best to try and make sure that one way or another we can try and accommodate as many schools as possible. Our kind of priority, not priority, but kind of target counties where we notice levels of participation are lower are Carlow, Donegal, Kildare, Leitrim, Longford, Meath, Offaly, Tipperary, and Westmeath. Now, that is not to say applications are not welcome from the rest of the country. It's just that we're keeping an eye out because we've tended to have less year on year from those counties. So if you're coming to us from one of those counties, you're particularly welcome. Um, so we that kind of is the main bulk of the what we want to kind of cover with you. Rebecca has another video we're going to show you that a group of children made for us from Bandy and from Stanhope Street with their advice on how to be a creative school. And then after that, we'll take your questions and I can take you through some of the kind of common issues that people sometimes have, or the questions that come up a lot. But we might watch that little video first.
Stanhope Street Primary School in Dublin is the kind of place that is bursting at the seams with creativity. You see it and feel it everywhere, from the massive Chris Judge mosaic in the hallway to the felted seams hanging in the stairs window. But the best place to experience Stanhope Street's creativity is in the library during a meeting of the Creative Council. The members, boys and girls from 2nd to 6th class, are super proud to be on the council with a good reason. We have visual artists, designers, cooks, jewellery makers, comedians. Above all, we have thinkers who love to problem solve, communicators who will happily share their ideas far and wide, and kind hearts who are always thinking about their schoolmates.
I think the major piece of advice starting would be to be able to set up a creative committee and having children from all ages giving their advice on their different interests and what they feel creativity is and the journey that they would like to go on with the school, and seeing their ideas come to life and just empowering them to have their voice heard, and they're in charge of the creative journey.
Camola National School, perched on a hillside, nestled within a picturesque rural farming community in Bantry, West Cork, is more than just a place of learning. It is a buzzing haven where creativity thrives. An open-minded approach allowed students to explore and discover their artistic potential without the pressure of standing out or reaching specific targets.
The students found their voices, learned to collaborate, and overcame challenges with imagination and resilience. Their giggle-filled approach was a privilege to behold, and they embarked on a remarkable journey.
You might start off with a plan or an idea of what you want to work with, and then as you work with the kids and get their ideas and get their opinions and everything, that slowly the plan starts to change and to evolve and become something completely different. And because the children have had their say and have had their ideas included in it, they become more invested and they become more interested and they become more enthusiastic. So I think that's one of the main things we've learned, and I suppose we've brought that into not just working with Mika, but working with other artists in the school as well.
Don't have people like telling you what to do and going like, okay, so you're to do exactly this, and say, so you're gonna have to make it look whatever, something like this, but you can make it a bit up by yourself as well. Like, I think to have a bit of freedom is how you get creative.
I feel like you should be able to have like a little creative break every once in a while if you get too stressed doing like maths or English or things like that.
Maybe ask their teacher to bring different artists to school.
Like have art homework, like you have a little extra minute for art.
Take on your own ideas. Don't just copy someone else because they want to do it.
Do projects throughout the year, and you could even like work in pairs or something.
Let the students think of stuff. The more than the teachers, because that the students might think of great ideas.
Don't be shy with your ideas and share them with the class.
And they can set up more art activities and they can complement your artwork.
Try use money on arts and stuff. Well, it's free. You can do whatever you want, and no instructions. So like just make anything really.
The children have really immersed into it, and the staff and the school, and it has had huge benefits. It has brought children out in different ways and let them experience creativity in a whole new range of ways that they wouldn't have experienced before.
The ideas will come when you're least expecting them, so keep being open to creativity, keep saying yes, keep looking into the community, seeing what skills there are with your parents, with local artists. So it's there, it's all there. Just kind of scratch the surface and start the conversations.
To take it slow and steady and do never rush.
Take your time when you're doing things.
You need to have fun while you're doing it and like try new things.
So we're very happy for Rebecca and myself, and we have kind of 8 other colleagues as well in the creative school team. Very, very, very happy to help if you have any questions. You can contact us on creativeschools@artscouncil.ie, or you can call through reception. And we're very, very happy to help. Rebecca has a slide with kind of just some key information if you want that, but it was lovely. Thank you very much for giving us your time this afternoon. If there's anything else, feel free to get in touch with us. And if you have any other questions, Rebecca and I'll stay here for a couple of minutes. But I hope that's been useful for everybody. And just that kind of piece as well about that's not intended, it's not